What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 recent returns that I just got back in the mail. So we'll jump right into this first one. And this is returned from Washington State. And it is from former New York Mets reliever, sinker ball specialist Doug Sisk on 1, 2 as a Met, a 3rd as an Oriole, and of course, my all-time Orioles card, Crown Coca-Cola collection. So I have Doug Sisk on 404, signed in nice blue Sharpie, and let me tell you about his baseball playing career. Sisk, a Washington native, played college baseball at Green River Community College, and then he went on to play 2 more seasons at Washington State University, where he was signed as a free agent with the New York Mets in 1980. In his first season in baseball and the Mets rookie ball affiliate, he went 8-5 with a 2.66 ERA as a starting pitcher. He was moved to the bullpen the following year in Lynchburg, and over 3 seasons in the Mets minor league system, he went 25 wins and 14 losses with a 2.88 ERA until he was called up to the major leagues on September of 1982. Sisk would stay with the club for the remainder of the season and just give up 1 hit through the end of the year. In 1983, he made his presence known in the Mets bullpen, and in the following year, 1984, he had a very great season. However, he developed an injury in his shoulder. He would bounce back from that injury, and in 1985, he would be a mainstay in the bullpen, but his ERA did fluctuate a little bit higher in the 1985 season. Well, in 1986, he would go back to true form, appearing in 41 games for the Mets, going 4-2 with a 3.06 ERA, eventually being part of the world champion New York Mets. In 1987, he would again have an excellent season, appearing in 55 games with a 3-1 mark with a 3.46 ERA. Well, after the 87 season, the Mets decided to part ways with Sisk, and they traded him to the Baltimore Orioles for a player to be named later. Eventually, that player to be named later was just a minor leaguer, so it seems like the Orioles got the better end of that deal. And he spent just that 1 year with the Orioles, and he appeared in 52 games for them in 1988 and had a 3-3 record. Despite having that excellent record with the Orioles, they decided not to re-sign him, and he was released from the Orioles on October 3rd of 1988 after the season, and he signed as a free agent with the Cleveland Indians. Well, unfortunately, his injury problems returned in the 1990 season, in 89 and 90 season, and eventually the Indians would release him, and he would then sign with the New York Mets. But the reunion was only about a month long before the Mets traded him to the Atlanta Braves in 1990. Well, he would appear in just 3 games with the Braves to finish out the 1990 season, but it was very important for him to finally get back to the major leagues for the first time since 1988. Well, he would return to the Braves in 1991, but he could not get his form back as he appeared in 14 games for the Braves that year, posting a 2-1 record with a 5.02 ERA. After the end of the 1991 season, the Braves did not renew his contract, and he became a free agent and never pitched in the major leagues again. Now, the ironic thing is if the Atlanta Braves would have won the World Series in 1991, Sisk would have got a World Series ring that year as well. But instead, he just had to settle for the one that he got with the Mets in '86, which still is a huge accomplishment. But it would have been cool to be able to have, 2 World Series rings in such a short time period. So, very happy to add Doug Sisk to the collection. This one got a little bit of a smear on the end here, but it's not that noticeable. But not a big deal. He's got a ton of cards out there. I mean, basically from mid 1980s to the 1990s. So, I mean, his cards are pretty available if they're, if you're looking for them. So, very happy to get one more from my all-time Orioles collection, even though he only spent 1 season with them. So, moving on to the next one. All right, so this next one is postmarked from Washington as well, and it is actually a nice success from former New York Mets pitcher Bob Apodaca on 1, 2, 3, and a 4th as a coach. And we'll talk about his coaching career here in a second, but Ron Washington's the other coach premiered on this card, and I know Ron used to sign through the mail. I don't know if he still does, but very happy to add Bob Apodaca to the collection here on this minor league set that I just happened to have as well. So let me tell you about Bob and his career in baseball. So Apodaca grew up in Los Angeles, actually, and he played third base while he was in high school, but converted to a pitcher while he was at the local community college, Cerritos College. He then transferred to California State University, LA, where he was the Golden Eagles MVP as a senior. He signed with the New York Mets as an amateur free agent in 1971. He spent 3 seasons in the Mets farm system, compiling a record of 24 wins and 11 losses with a 2.73 ERA before making his major league debut in September of 1973. He faced just 2 batters for the Pirates, walking both. The first came around to score, giving Apodaca an infinite ERA for the 1973 season. So Bob never had another chance to pitch in that 1973 season, so his ERA was infinite for the season, which that's kind of got to be a bummer. In 1974, he won a spot in the Mets bullpen, and he significantly lowered his ERA as he posted a 6-6 record with a 3.50 ERA in 35 appearances, but also got 8 spot starts that year. Well, the following year, he would make his ERA go down even farther, and he would post a 1.49 ERA in 46 games for the Mets that year. I mean, that's just an amazing earned run average for that season. For the entire season, he only gave up 14 earned runs that year and 84 innings pitched. That's quite a superb season. Well, in 1976, he would continue to have a very strong earned run average. However, his record slipped to 3-7. In 1977, his record slipped to 4-8 and his ERA up to 3.43. Going into spring training in 1978, Apodaca tore a ligament in his right elbow, causing him to miss the entire 1978 season. He would just pitch 4 innings the following year in 1979, and in 1980 would not pitch at all. After 6 games in 1981, not pitching in the majors since 1977, Apodaca decided to retire right then and there after 6 games. Almost immediately after he left the organization as a pitcher, the Mets gave him a job in the rookie short season ball, the Little Fall Mets of the New York Penn League. He would then be a coach for almost the rest of his career in various organizations. He moved on to the AA affiliate Jackson, then the Columbia Mets, in the South Atlantic League, the Norfolk Tides, the Tidewater Tides, right there. It was him coaching there. So he was with many organizations, and he finally did make it back to the majors. You know, he was a pitching coach for the Mets. Then he was also a pitching coach for the Milwaukee Brewers for a couple of years. He also was the pitching coach for the Colorado Rockies. Now, that's probably the hardest job in baseball, is trying to be the pitching coach in Coors Field, but Apodaca somehow did it. He did that for a little while, and he remained with the Rockies through the 2012 season, and then he was reassigned within the organization, meaning he was working with player development and scouting and such. So he did that all the way through 2012, working for the Rockies. So to this day, I think he's still involved with baseball a little bit in a coaching capacity. I'm not positive on that. But this is one of those people that unfortunately had his career cut short due to injury. But he was lucky enough to find his way as a coach and continue his career in baseball for nearly 45 years, 50 years. I mean, it's And if he's still going today, I mean, that could be close to 50 years in baseball if he's still working in baseball. But very happy to add this long lost New York Met to the collection. A lot of people may not remember him from his playing days, but more of his coaching days. But before his injury, he was one of the top relievers in the New York Mets bullpen. So we'll move on to the next one. All right, so we're going to finish up this Mets-themed video by sharing with you one more key member of the New York Mets, and that is former relief pitcher Ed Lynch on 1, 2 as a Met, a 3rd as a Cub, which he has the grumpiest face in baseball card history, probably right there. I know a lot of people have commented on that before on their channels, and a 4th as a Chicago Cub. Now, in addition to that, we're going to talk about this in a second. He actually included a business card with him as a Met and a Cub, and he is actually a realtor now with Keller Williams. I don't know if he's an actual realtor, but he works in the real estate business down in Arizona. So a very nice little business card that he included as well. So let me tell you about Ed Lynch and his career in baseball. Ed Lynch was born in Brooklyn, New York. However, he attended high school in Miami, Florida, and attended college at the University of South Carolina. The Texas Rangers selected Ed with the 22nd round pick out of the University of South Carolina in 1977. Lynch would be assigned to the Rangers rookie ball affiliate, where he would post a 1-4 record with a 3.70 ERA in 13 games. Well, the following year, in 1978, the Rangers made him a starter, and he had 11 wins and 12 losses in 25 games for the Rangers single A and double A affiliates. In 1979, he was promoted to Triple A, where he went 10-11 for the Rangers Triple A affiliate. Well, after the 79 season, he was traded to the New York Mets as the player to be named later for Willie Montanez. That's who he was traded for. And with the Mets, he was assigned to the Mets AAA affiliate, and he just came out onto the scene and went 13-6 for the Mets in 1980 in 24 starts. Well, the Mets called him up, and he got to start 4 games that year for the Mets in 1980, finishing out the year with a 1-1 record. Well, in 1981, he would again split time between AAA and the majors. However, in 1981, Ed started 13 to 17 games that he appeared in, but had an ERA of just 2.91. In 1982, he would just start 12 games for the Mets and would have a 4-8 record. In 83, he would split his record at 10 wins and 10 losses, appearing in 30 games primarily as a starter for the Mets that year. In 1984, he would post a 9-8 record, again splitting time between the bullpen and being a starter. And in 1985, he would post a 10-8 record, primarily as a starter, starting 29 games for the Mets that year. Well, in 1986, as we talked about earlier with Doug Sisk, he actually started the year with the Mets and had some injury issues, I'm assuming, because they sent him down to AAA. But by the end of the 1986 season, the Mets shipped him off to the Chicago Cubs. Well, when he got to Chicago, he went 7-5 and posted a 3.79 ERA, being again a spot starter, appearing in 23 games and starting 13. In 1987, however, his record slipped to 2-9 for the Cubs, where he started 8 games but appeared in 58 primarily as out of the bullpen. Well, after the 87 season, the Cubs did not re-sign him, and he signed a free agent contract with the San Francisco Giants. He, however, did not make the Giants Major League Club and has just appeared in 1 game for the Giants that year before he decided to retire as a player. Well, after he retired as a player, Lynch actually went back to college and finished his law degree. And after he finished his law degree, he was able to secure positions with the Chicago Cubs, eventually becoming their general manager. Well, after his time in baseball, he finished up his career with the Cubs, I'm assuming, in the front office. He did a little bit of coaching here and there, even up till a couple of years ago. He was coaching in the independent leagues for a couple months, I guess, out of the year in 2019. But he moved back to Arizona and started getting involved in real estate. So by trade, he's a lawyer technically, so I don't think he's technically a realtor. He just works for a realty company. So very cool addition to have this little business card that he included. Very happy to add his autograph to my collection because I've never written him before. Very happy to add Bob Apodaca to the collection as well on his cards. Maybe I can get Ron Washington to sign this one for me if I ever run into him or decide to send that through the mail and see what happens. Also very happy to add former Mets teammate Doug Sisk to Ed Lynch's former teammate, I should say, Doug Sisk, on his cards as a Met, and also on another all-time Orioles card. I want to thank you for taking the time to watching another episode. Look forward to your comments below, and as always, happy collecting.